They came without warning. 3 alien races, bound by an alliance forged in the cold, unfeeling void of space, descended upon humanity like a storm. The skies burned with the fire of their warships, and the earth trembled beneath the weight of their invasion. We called them the Triumvirate, a coalition of species so advanced, so vast in their technological superiority, that our survival seemed impossible from the very first strike. The Clisser were the architects of destruction, towering insectoid beings with minds like supercomputers and fleets that blotted out stars. Their ships moved with precision, their weapons carved through our defenses like paper. The Vorthen were their enforcers, hulking reptilian warriors bred for combat, whose mere presence on a battlefield was enough to break even the most seasoned human soldiers. And then there were the Illyrans, ethereal, almost angelic in appearance but wielding psionic powers that could shatter minds and turn allies against one another. Together, they were an unstoppable force. Humanity had always believed itself alone in the universe. For centuries, we gazed at the stars with wonder and curiosity, never imagining that those same stars would one day become the stage for our annihilation. When the Triumvirate's fleets arrived, they spoke not of diplomacy or coexistence. Their message was clear: submission or extinction. Earth's governments faltered under the weight of panic and despair. Cities fell within days. Entire continents were rendered uninhabitable by orbital bombardments. The Triumvirate's technology was unlike anything we had ever seen. Shields impervious to our weapons, energy sources beyond comprehension, and armies that seemed endless. It wasn't a war, it was a culling. But humanity has always been stubborn. Call it arrogance or call it hope. When faced with extinction, we refused to go quietly into the night. I remember those early days vividly. I was just a communications officer aboard one of Earth's last remaining orbital defense stations when the first wave hit. The Clisser ships appeared on our sensors like ghosts, silent, swift, and deadly. We barely had time to sound the alarm before they tore through our fleet. I watched as friends and comrades were vaporized in an instant, their screams drowned out by static. Yet even as we fell back, even as Earth itself seemed on the verge of collapse, something remarkable happened. Humanity began to adapt. The Triumvirate had underestimated us. Not our weapons or our numbers, but our spirit. They saw us as primitive creatures bound by fear and instinct, incapable of matching their intellect or power. What they failed to understand was that desperation breeds ingenuity. In underground bunkers and hidden research facilities scattered across what remained of Earth and its colonies, human scientists and engineers worked tirelessly to reverse engineer captured alien technology. Soldiers trained in guerrilla tactics learned to exploit even the smallest weaknesses in enemy formations. Civilians became resistance fighters, turning every street corner and abandoned building into a trap. And then there was her, Captain Elena Vasquez. Elena was not what you'd call a conventional leader. She wasn't born into privilege or trained in elite academies. She was a mechanic from New Santiago who found herself thrust into command when her entire unit was wiped out during an ambush. But what she lacked in formal training, she made up for with sheer audacity. It was Elena who led the first successful counterattack against the Triumvirate, a daring raid on a Clisser supply convoy that netted humanity its first working alien reactor core. It was Elena who rallied scattered resistance groups into a unified force under her banner, the Ember Coalition, a name chosen to symbolize humanity's unyielding spark amidst the darkness. Her message spread like wildfire. We are not defeated until we stop fighting. The Triumvirate responded with fury. They doubled their efforts to crush us, deploying weapons that turned entire regions into wastelands and unleashing psionic assaults that left survivors broken and catatonic. But for every blow they dealt us, we struck back harder. We learned to fight dirty, to hack their systems with improvised code viruses, to sabotage their supply lines using scavenged tech cobbled together with duct tape and desperation. I won't lie to you. There were moments when it felt hopeless. When I saw children huddled in bombed-out shelters or heard reports of entire resistance cells wiped out overnight, I questioned whether we could truly win this war. But then I'd see Elena standing on some makeshift podium in her patched-up combat armor, addressing crowds of weary fighters with fire in her eyes and defiance in her voice. They may have their fleets, she'd say, their weapons and their goddamn psionics. But they don't have us. They don't have our will. The turning point came 2 years into the war when a team of human scientists cracked the code behind Illyran psionics. A discovery that allowed us not only to shield ourselves from their mind attacks, but to develop crude countermeasures capable of disrupting their abilities entirely. It wasn't much, not at first, but it was enough to give us hope. And hope is a dangerous thing for anyone who seeks to oppress humanity. This is how it began. The ember that refused to die amidst an intergalactic inferno. We were outnumbered, outgunned, and outmatched in every conceivable way. But we were human. And if there's one thing history has taught us about humans, it's that we don't know how to quit. The tide began to shift, slowly at first, like the faintest ripple in a vast ocean. For every city we lost, we took back a colony. For every squadron of fighters shot down, we dismantled a triumvirate outpost. The Ember Coalition grew stronger, fueled by victories that seemed impossible on paper, but were made real through ingenuity and sheer force of will. Our breakthroughs came not just from our scientists and engineers, but from the unlikeliest corners of humanity. Farmers turned their irrigation drones into reconnaissance units. Hackers in the ruins of New Tokyo built viruses that could infiltrate Clisser command networks. Even children played their part, acting as couriers in cities too dangerous for adults to traverse. Everyone had a role to play in the survival of our species. The Triumvirate, for all their power, struggled to adapt to us. Their alliance was built on cold logic and mutual benefit, not the chaotic creativity that defined humanity. The Clisser relied on rigid strategies and algorithms that we learned to exploit. The Vorthan's brute strength was formidable, but they faltered against guerrilla tactics and traps designed to outwit rather than overpower them. And the Illyrans, those ethereal beings who once seemed like gods, began to fear us when their psionics failed to break our minds. It was during this time that we discovered their Achilles heel. The Triumvirate wasn't as united as they appeared. The Clisser viewed themselves as the natural leaders of the alliance, their cold intellect placing them above the lesser races they had allied with. The Vorthan resented being treated as mere muscle, their warrior pride chafing under Clisser commands. And the Illyrans, aloof and enigmatic, saw both races as tools to be used for their own inscrutable purposes. Elena saw an opportunity in their divisions. If they can't stand together, she said during one of her fiery speeches to the Coalition Council, then we'll make damn sure they fall apart. Thus began Operation Fracture, a campaign not just of military strikes but psychological warfare aimed at driving wedges between the Triumvirate's members. We planted false intelligence suggesting Clisser betrayal, orchestrated ambushes that made it seem like Vorthan forces were being sacrificed for Illyran gains, and spread rumors of secret Illyran plans to abandon the alliance altogether. It worked better than we could have hoped. The first cracks appeared when a Vorthan fleet refused to reinforce a Clisser stronghold under siege by human forces. The Clisser retaliated by withholding supplies from Vorthan ground troops. Meanwhile, Illyran operatives began disappearing under mysterious circumstances, assassinations carried out by our most skilled agents but blamed on their so-called allies. By the third year of the war, the Triumvirate was no longer a unified front. Their coordination faltered, their strategies became disjointed, and their once overwhelming advantage began to erode. But it wasn't enough. Not yet. For all our progress, humanity was still fighting an uphill battle. Our resources were stretched thin, our people exhausted from years of relentless conflict. Every victory came at a cost measured in lives lost and worlds reduced to ash. And then came the fall of Europa. Europa had been one of humanity's last strongholds in the Sol system, a bastion of resistance hidden beneath its icy surface, where scientists worked tirelessly on a weapon that could turn the tide once and for all, Project Prometheus. It was said to be humanity's greatest achievement, a fusion of alien technology and human ingenuity capable of unleashing energy on a scale never before seen. The Triumvirate knew this too. They descended upon Europa with everything they had: Clisser dreadnoughts, Vorthan shock troops, Illyran psionic elites. It was an assault unlike anything we'd faced before, and despite our best efforts, we couldn't hold them back. I was there when it happened, watching helplessly from an evac ship as Europa's icy crust cracked and shattered under the weight of orbital bombardments. The screams over comms still haunt me. Soldiers calling for reinforcements that would never come. Scientists begging for more time to finish their work. Elena herself shouting orders even as her position was overrun. In the end, Project Prometheus was destroyed, or so we thought. It wasn't until weeks later that we learned Elena had survived Europa's fall. She'd escaped with a small team, and something far more valuable than Prometheus itself, its schematics. Let them think they've won, she said when she finally reconnected with coalition forces. Let them celebrate their victory on Europa while we build something even greater. And so began humanity's final gambit. The construction of the Aegis, a weapon not designed for destruction, but liberation. It would be our answer to the Triumvirate's overwhelming power, a shield capable of neutralizing their fleet's energy weapons and leveling the playing field once and for all. But building it required resources we didn't have and time we couldn't afford. The coalition fractured under the strain, some arguing that it was too risky, others demanding immediate action against weakened Triumvirate forces. Elena held us together through sheer force of will. This isn't just about survival, she told us during one particularly heated council meeting. It's about proving that humanity deserves its place among the stars, not as slaves or victims, but as equals. The Aegis became more than just a weapon. It became a symbol of hope, a rallying cry for every human who still dared to dream of victory amidst despair. And so we fought on, not for ourselves, but for something greater, a future where no species would ever again face extinction at the hands of another. The Triumvirate thought they could break us with fear and firepower. They didn't realize they were forging something far stronger. Unity born from adversity, and an ember that refused to die. The construction of the Aegis marked a turning point in our struggle, a beacon of hope that rallied humanity's scattered forces. Deep within the asteroid belt, hidden from prying eyes, our engineers worked tirelessly, transforming raw materials into a marvel of engineering that could shift the balance of power. As the Triumvirate continued their relentless assault, we held our ground, buying precious time with cunning tactics and sacrificial bravery. Every skirmish was a delaying action, every retreat a strategic withdrawal designed to protect our secret. The Triumvirate's focus remained on crushing resistance wherever it flared, unaware that their true defeat was being forged in the silence of space. Elena Vasquez was everywhere during these dark days. Her presence became legendary, appearing at the front lines to inspire troops, slipping behind enemy lines to gather intelligence, and always returning to oversee the progress of the Aegis. She was more than a leader. She was the embodiment of our defiance. As the Aegis neared completion, we faced one final challenge, deploying it without alerting the Triumvirate. The plan was audacious, perhaps even reckless, but it was our only chance. We would lure the Triumvirate into a decisive battle at Mars, using its proximity to the asteroid belt as cover for our final gambit. The call went out across all channels. Every available ship was to converge on Mars for what would be humanity's last stand. It was a desperate move, but desperation had become our greatest ally. The Triumvirate took the bait. Their fleets descended upon Mars with overwhelming force, eager to crush what they believed was the heart of human resistance. The skies above the red planet lit up with fire as ships clashed in a brutal dance of death. But this time, we were ready. As the battle raged, Elena gave the signal. From within the asteroid belt, the Aegis emerged, a colossal construct bristling with technology, both alien and human. Its activation sent ripples through space-time itself, creating a barrier that nullified energy weapons and disrupted psionic attacks. For the first time since the war began, we fought on equal terms. With their primary advantage neutralized, the Triumvirate faltered. Their ships struggled against our newfound defenses, their tactics unraveling as confusion spread through their ranks. It was then that humanity struck back with everything we had, coordinated assaults that exploited every weakness we had painstakingly uncovered. The Clisser fleets were first to break, their rigid formations crumbling under relentless pressure. The Vorthen fought fiercely, but without direction, their commanders unable to adapt to this new reality. And the Illyrians, those once mighty psionic beings, found themselves powerless against a foe they could no longer control or predict. In those final moments above Mars, something extraordinary happened. Unity not just among humans, but within the Triumvirate itself began to fracture irreparably. The seeds of doubt and mistrust we had sown took root, turning allies into adversaries as accusations flew and alliances shattered. By day's end, what remained of the Triumvirate fleet retreated into deep space, defeated not by superior firepower, but by an indomitable will they could neither understand nor overcome. Humanity had won its future, not through conquest but survival, not through domination but resilience. In the aftermath of victory came reflection, a time to rebuild what had been lost and forge new paths among stars once thought unreachable. We extended hands not in vengeance, but in peace, offering coexistence to those who once sought our destruction. And so began a new era, a testament not just to human ingenuity or courage, but to our capacity for hope amidst despair, for unity amidst division, for life amidst annihilation. For we are human, and if there's one thing history has taught us about humans, it's that we rise from ashes stronger than before, always reaching for brighter stars beyond. The retreat of the Triumvirate was not the end of the war, but it was the beginning of something new. For the first time in years, humanity could breathe, if only for a moment. The skies above Mars were littered with the wreckage of alien ships, and the surface below bore scars that would never fade. But we had survived. Against all odds, we had survived. The remnants of the Triumvirate fled to the far reaches of space, regrouping in systems unknown to us. They were wounded but not broken, and we knew they would return. But this time, we would be ready. The victory at Mars had given us more than just a reprieve. It had given us momentum. The Aegis became a symbol of hope, its technology replicated and adapted to fortify our defenses across the colonies. Humanity began to rebuild, not just our cities and fleets, but our spirit. For so long, we had been fighting to survive, but now we dared to dream of something more, a future where humanity could stand as equals among the stars. Elena Vasquez continued to lead, though the weight of command grew heavier with each passing day. She was no longer just a soldier or a leader. She was a legend, and legends carry burdens that few can understand. I remember seeing her after the victory at Mars, her armor scorched and battered, her face lined with exhaustion, but her eyes still burned with that unyielding fire. "We've bought ourselves time," she said in one of her rare moments of candor. "But time isn't enough. We need to finish this war, not just for us, but for every species out there that might one day face what we've faced." And so began the pursuit. Humanity's fleets, bolstered by captured Triumvirate technology and newly forged alliances with splinter factions of Vorthan rebels and disillusioned Illyrans, ventured into uncharted space. Our goal was not conquest but resolution, to dismantle the Triumvirate once and for all. It was during this phase of the war that we learned more about our enemies than ever before. The Clisser were not invincible gods of logic, as we had once believed. Their society was built on strict hierarchies and unyielding adherence to protocol, a strength in times of order, but a crippling weakness in chaos. When their algorithms failed to account for human unpredictability, they faltered, unable to adapt quickly enough. The Vorthan were warriors through and through, but their loyalty was not as absolute as it seemed. Many among their ranks began to question the purpose of their alliance with the Clisser and Illyrans, especially when faced with humanity's resilience. Some even defected, bringing with them valuable intelligence that turned the tide in key battles. And then there were the Illyrans, the most enigmatic and dangerous of our foes. Their psionic abilities had once made them seem untouchable, but their reliance on those powers proved to be their undoing. With the Aegis disrupting their mental attacks, they found themselves vulnerable for the first time in millennia. It was said that some Illyrans went mad from the backlash, unable to cope with minds no longer bent to their will. But even as we pushed deeper into Triumvirate territory, we uncovered truths that shook us to our core. The Triumvirate had not come together out of mutual respect or shared purpose. They had been forced into alliance by something far greater than themselves, a threat that loomed on the edges of known space like a shadow waiting to engulf us all. We first encountered it on a desolate world at the edge of Clisser-controlled space, a planet stripped bare of life, its surface scarred by weapons beyond even their comprehension. The survivors spoke in hushed tones of the Voidborn, a race or force that defied understanding, consuming entire civilizations without warning or mercy. At first, we thought it was propaganda, a desperate attempt by the Triumvirate to justify their aggression against humanity. But as we pieced together fragments of data from captured ships and interrogated prisoners, a chilling picture began to emerge. The Voidborn were real, and they were coming. Elena's response was as decisive as it was audacious. "If they're coming for us," she said during an emergency council meeting aboard the Aegis, "then we'll meet them head-on. Together." Her words marked a turning point, not just for humanity, but for the galaxy itself. For centuries, we had been divided by fear and mistrust. Now we faced a choice: unite or perish. Under Elena's leadership, humanity extended an olive branch to what remained of the Triumvirate. It wasn't easy. There were betrayals and setbacks along the way. But slowly, grudgingly, former enemies became allies. The Klisser brought their unmatched engineering prowess. The Vorthen offered their unbreakable warrior spirit. Even some Illyrans joined us, lending their psionic abilities in ways we could never have imagined. Together, we prepared for what would become known as the Final War, a battle not for dominance or survival but for existence itself. I wish I could tell you how it ended, that I lived long enough to see humanity rise triumphant once more. But this story isn't mine alone. It belongs to all of us who dared to defy impossible odds and reach for something greater than ourselves. What I do know is this: when the Voidborn finally arrived, when their ships darkened our skies and their weapons tore through our defenses, we did not stand alone. We stood as one galaxy united against annihilation, and for all our flaws, for all our mistakes, we proved that even in our darkest hour, humanity's light burns brightest when it refuses to be extinguished. The arrival of the Voidborn was unlike anything we had ever faced. Their ships emerged from the depths of space, vast and silent, absorbing light and hope alike. They were an enigma, a force that seemed to defy the very laws of physics, moving through the cosmos with an eerie grace that belied their destructive power. As their armada approached, our hastily formed alliance, humans, Klisser, Vorthen, and Illyrans, stood ready. It was a coalition born of necessity, forged in the crucible of shared survival. We had learned to trust one another, to set aside our differences for the sake of something greater. But would it be enough? The first encounter with the Voidborn was a baptism by fire. Their weapons were unlike anything we had encountered. Energy beams that sliced through our shields as if they were nothing, projectiles that seemed to phase in and out of reality. Our ships struggled to hold formation, and for a moment, it seemed as though all would be lost. But then the Aegis activated. Its energy field spread across the battlefield like a protective dome, neutralizing the Voidborn's attacks and giving us a fighting chance. It was a testament to human ingenuity and the collaborative efforts of our newfound allies. Under Elena's command, we launched a counteroffensive. Human pilots flew side by side with Vorthen warriors. Klisser engineers coordinated with Illyran psionics to devise strategies that could exploit even the smallest weaknesses in the Voidborn's seemingly impenetrable defenses. The battle raged across the stars, a symphony of chaos and determination. Every ship lost was mourned, every victory celebrated as if it were our last. We fought not just for ourselves but for every world that lay behind us, every life that depended on our success. In those desperate hours, we discovered something extraordinary about the Voidborn. They were not invincible. Beneath their formidable exterior lay vulnerabilities, flaws in their technology that could be exploited with precision strikes and coordinated assaults. It was Elena who saw it first, a pattern in their movements, a rhythm to their attacks that revealed openings for counterattacks. Her orders came swiftly, her voice calm amidst the storm. Focus fire on their command ships. Cut off their head, and the body will follow. And so we did. The tide began to turn as one by one. Voidborn command ships fell under our relentless assault. Their formations wavered, their cohesion shattered. What had once seemed an unstoppable force began to falter under the combined might of our alliance. But victory came at a cost. As we pressed our advantage, Elena's flagship, the Resolute, took a direct hit from a Voidborn weapon. The blast tore through its hull, sending shockwaves through our ranks as we watched in horror. Yet even in those final moments, Elena's voice carried over the comms. "Keep fighting. Don't let them win." Her sacrifice became our rallying cry, a reminder that this battle was about more than any one person or species. It was about preserving everything we held dear. With renewed determination, we pushed forward, driving the Voidborn back into the void from whence they came. The battle stretched on for what felt like eternity until at last, silence descended upon the stars. We had won, not just through strength or strategy, but through unity forged in adversity. In the aftermath of victory came reflection, a time to mourn those lost and celebrate what we had achieved together. The galaxy stood on the brink of a new era, one where former enemies could become allies, where trust could bridge even the deepest divides. For humanity, and for all those who had fought beside us, it was a chance to start anew, to build a future where peace might flourish amidst adversity rather than fear or domination. And so began the Age of Unity, a testament not just to human resilience, but to our capacity for hope, for reaching beyond ourselves toward brighter horizons yet unseen. For in every ember lies potential, and in every heart beats possibility, waiting only for courage enough to ignite it into flame once more. In the wake of the Voidborn's retreat, the galaxy found itself at a crossroads. The battle had left its mark on every world, every species that had stood together against the encroaching darkness. The scars of war were deep, but so too was the resolve to forge a new path forward, a path of unity and cooperation. The Age of Unity began with a gathering unlike any other. Representatives from every corner of the galaxy came together on a neutral world, a place untouched by conflict and rich with symbolism. It was here that the Galactic Concord was born, a council dedicated to maintaining peace and fostering collaboration among all sentient beings. For humanity, this was a moment of profound significance. We had emerged from the brink of annihilation not just as survivors, but as leaders in a new era. Our ingenuity and determination had proven that even the most disparate of peoples could come together to achieve the impossible. The Clisser, once our greatest adversaries, became our closest allies. Their mastery of technology and engineering was unparalleled, and they shared it freely in exchange for insights into human creativity and adaptability. Together, we embarked on projects that pushed the boundaries of what was possible, terraforming barren worlds, developing sustainable energy sources, and exploring the farthest reaches of known space. The Vorthen, with their indomitable spirit and warrior ethos, found new purpose as peacekeepers within the Galactic Concord. Their presence ensured that disputes were resolved through dialogue rather than conflict, their honor-bound traditions serving as a guiding light for those who sought justice and fairness. Even the Illyrans, once shrouded in mystery and fear, opened their minds and hearts to this new alliance. Their psionic abilities became a bridge between cultures, a means of communication that transcended language barriers and fostered understanding on a level never before imagined. Yet amidst this newfound harmony, challenges remained. The Voidborn's threat had not been eradicated. It lingered on the fringes of our awareness like a shadow waiting to return. We knew that vigilance was necessary, that complacency could undo everything we had fought so hard to achieve. To that end, humanity took on a new role, guardians of knowledge and protectors of peace. We established academies dedicated to studying the Voidborn phenomenon, training future generations to recognize signs of their return and develop strategies for defense. Elena Vasquez's legacy lived on through these efforts, her vision of a united galaxy serving as inspiration for all who dared to dream beyond their limitations. As years passed, the Galactic Concord flourished, its influence spreading across systems once thought unreachable. Trade routes opened between distant worlds. Cultural exchanges enriched lives in ways previously unimagined. Scientific breakthroughs propelled us toward ever greater heights. But perhaps most importantly, trust began to take root where suspicion had once reigned supreme. Former enemies became friends. Rivals turned collaborators, all bound by shared experiences and common goals. And so it was that humanity found its place among the stars, not through conquest or domination, but through cooperation and compassion. We learned that true strength lies not in isolation, but in connection, not in power alone, but in unity forged through adversity. For though we had faced darkness together, and would undoubtedly face it again, we emerged stronger for having done so, ready always for whatever challenges lay ahead, embers forever burning bright against any night that might come. As the galactic concord matured, it became a beacon of hope and stability across the cosmos. The lessons of the past had taught us that peace was not merely the absence of war, but the presence of justice, understanding, and mutual respect. This new era was defined not by the boundaries of individual empires, but by the shared dreams and aspirations of countless worlds. Humanity thrived in this environment. Our curiosity and drive to explore led us to the farthest reaches of known space and beyond. We established colonies on distant planets, each one a testament to our resilience and adaptability. These new worlds became melting pots of cultures, where humans lived alongside Klisser, Vorthan, Illerans, and other species we encountered along the way. In this age of exploration, we uncovered ancient relics and remnants of civilizations long past. Each discovery added to our understanding of the universe and our place within it. The mysteries of the Voidborn continued to intrigue us, driving scientific endeavors that pushed the boundaries of what we thought possible. The Galactic Concord's council chambers became a place where differences were celebrated rather than feared. Here, leaders from every corner of the galaxy gathered to share knowledge, resolve conflicts, and plan for a future that included everyone. It was a living testament to what could be achieved when unity triumphed over division. Yet even as we looked toward the stars with hope, we remained vigilant. The memory of the Voidborn's attack was a constant reminder that peace required effort and commitment. Our academies trained new generations in diplomacy, science, and defense, ensuring that we would be prepared for any threat that might arise. Elena Vasquez's legacy endured through these institutions. Her story became legend, a tale told to inspire courage and perseverance in the face of adversity. Statues were erected in her honor on worlds across the galaxy, each one a symbol of humanity's indomitable spirit. As decades turned into centuries, the galaxy transformed into a tapestry of interconnected worlds. Trade flourished, cultures intermingled, and technological advancements improved lives in ways once unimaginable. The scars of war faded into history, replaced by monuments celebrating peace and cooperation. And so humanity found its place among the stars, not as conquerors or victims, but as partners in a grand cosmic endeavor. We learned that our greatest strength lay not in our weapons or technology, but in our ability to connect with others, to build bridges where once there were walls, to find common ground amidst diversity. The Age of Unity became more than just a chapter in history. It was a promise for the future, that no matter what challenges lay ahead, we would face them together, embers forever burning bright against any night that might come. In this new era, we discovered that while stars may burn out and civilizations may rise and fall, some things endure beyond time itself. Hope, courage, friendship, and above all else, the unyielding spirit of those who dare to dream beyond their horizons. And thus ended one story among many, a story not just about survival, but about triumph, not just about humanity, but about all who dare to reach for something greater than themselves, forever lighting up the universe with their shared brilliance.